It's the High Holy Month, don't you know? Today is day 8 of my 17 days of creating videos celebrating the High Holy Month, St. Patrick's Day, and honoring my mother and her Irish heritage, which of course is my family's Irish heritage. Today you're getting a twofer because I'm going to share some Irish history, and I'm also going to celebrate something called National Celebrate Your Name Week. Why not? So here we go. My history lesson today about Ireland comes about the southern tip of the island and the town of Cobh. Cobh was originally known as Queenston. It's located in County Cork in the southern part of Ireland, and it has made a lasting impression on me because of its heritage center, in which they tell the Queenston story. And the Queenston story revolves around the maritime history of Cobh, and for many reasons. One is it was the last port that the Titanic sailed from before it sunk. When the Lusitania was sunk, there was a rescue operation mounted and bodies were returned to Cobh. And also, when the potato famine came to Ireland and devastated and destroyed the nation and the lives of the people who lived there, Cobh was a point of departure for so many of the Irish who were painfully forced to leave their country and their farmlands behind. The National Heritage Center is amazing. The reason it struck a chord with me was the way they told the story of the port, in that they put large, life-size murals on the walls that ran all the way through, and you walked through and experienced each one with a recorded program that made it sound like the people who were on the wall were telling you their story and putting you in the moment of those significant and devastating times in Ireland's history. I've given you the Irish history. Now I'm going to move on to Celebrate Your Name Week. I meet a woman from Eden named Mary Jo Hodge. She was a writer, and she wanted to share a story with me. She had been a supervisor of nurses for New York State, and her job was to go to various state-owned facilities and make sure the nurses had the materials and supplies they needed to do their jobs, and also that they were doing their jobs. One of the places that she oversaw was the Gwanda Psychiatric Center. When she went there for the first time, she met nurses that had been there for 20 years or longer. They shared their stories of women immigrants in that facility, many of them Irish, who came to the United States without a husband and not looking to marry or meet a husband when they arrived here. Rather, they came with their own dreams of creating a new life in America. Because of that, when they went through Ellis Island and stated that, American officials often declared them to be financial liabilities because they weren't married and they didn't have a job, and immediately institutionalized them in these facilities, despite the fact that these women were of sound mind and body. Obviously, that story struck home with me, not only because it happened to women, but it happened to Irish women. And so I interviewed Mary Jo, asked her permission, and wrote the story into a book that became Beauty and Grace. This is a novel of historical fiction. I published this in 2018. Some of the challenges of writing a book are not only about telling the story, but they're also about creating the cover and the title. For this book, it was a bit of a challenge in that I had no idea where to go to create a title that would make you want to read it, but also wouldn't make it so frightening that it would keep you from reading it. The main character I created was a woman from Buffalo, and I don't know why, but I was inspired to name her Grace. When I started thinking about titles, I thought about using her name, and I started trying to think of words to go with Grace. A story of Grace, beautiful Grace, all kinds of variations, none of which really worked for me. As I started creating the various characters that were institutionalized in this book, I gave them heritages from around the world: German, African, Irish, English, even American, a blend of nationalities. And I started researching names for them. I would figure out the time in history that these people were committed. And then I would go online and search, for example, German, if it was a German woman, German girls' names born in and whatever time frame my character was born. I have 4 Irish characters in this book. They're close to my heart. And when I started searching their names, for the very first one I created, I put in early 1900s girls' names. And I got Bridget and Catherine and Siobhan and all kinds of names that were good Irish names, but they didn't strike a chord with me until I got to Tegan. I'd heard the name before and always admired it. And I thought, this might work. So I went to my online translator and I typed in Tegan and asked for the English translation. And it was beauty. And suddenly I had my title. So today, Irish history and Celebrate Your Name Month. And if you don't know the meaning of your name, go look it up. It'll be a good thing to do today. Thanks for joining me. I hope you join me tomorrow.